And in this module, we are actually going to discuss working with probably our two most important types of objects, our book objects and our topic objects. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started now talking about books. Books are the first object that we are going to talk about. And in fact, if you want a roadmap of the order that we're going to be talking about objects in, if we go to the author ribbon, we're going to basically go in this order here. We're going to talk about books, topics, then file objects, and hyperlinks. And then we're going to get into these special objects like index entries and so on. But this is going to be the order of operations for the next few hours. Alright, so let's get going with talking about books and then topics first. Now, our books are very important to the publication process because when you publish something from AuthorIt, what you are actually publishing is a book. The book provides the structure for your publication. It's basically the container for the objects that you would like to publish. Now, when you are assembling your books, what you are doing is putting objects inside of those books, the objects that you want to publish. And you are placing those objects in the order that you would like them to be published in, okay? So your books determine the sequence of objects, or the order that your objects get published in. They also determine the hierarchy of your objects as well. And we'll take a look at a moment on how you can build levels of topic objects inside of your books. All right. Now, books are also important because when you publish a book from AuthorIt, it is the book that references those external publishing templates, that Word dot file or that HTML frame set file. So the books are linked to those external files that are stored outside of your library. Now, when you publish your book to print, your book will point to a Word template file or .x file. When you publish to HTML, that book will point to an HTML frame set file and any additional files that that frame set needs to operate correctly. Now, books are also containers for the objects you want to publish. They basically point to the objects in the library. The book is not like a folder. The book is not a way to organize objects or a way to store them. The books simply reference the objects. The object still lives in the folder, but it's being reused inside of the book. It doesn't live in the book. It lives in the folder, and the book is simply referencing it. All right, so let's take a look at that sequence and hierarchy. This is something that you have total control over. So when you are creating your books, you will drag and drop in objects into that book. And you can place those objects in the sequence that you want them to publish in and then the hierarchy that you want them to publish in as well. And let's go ahead and take a look at that now. I'm going to go to my library and I'm just going to turn off the preview here to give myself some more room on the screen. I'm going to go to my X5000 folder. And what I want to do is create a new book. So to do that, I'll go up to the author ribbon, select book, and then what I'm looking at here are all of the different templates that are available for my book. Okay, these templates belong to these different departments such as human resources, research and development, sales, technical publications. Let's say I'd like to create a new user manual, so I'll select the user manual template. Okay, and I have to give my object a name. So I'm going to call this the X5000 user guide. Now I'm just going to hit apply here. Apply will save without closing. Now if I move this over, you'll see this object has now been saved in this folder because this is the folder I had selected on the left-hand side. All right. Now, if I go over to my book contents area, this is the area where I will place the objects in that I want to publish. Now, by default, I've already got 4 objects inside of this book. These objects were added by the user manual template. The user manual template said, when you create a book based on me, I want to add these 4 objects to that book. It gives my authors a starting point in the authoring process. Now from here, I can simply drag and drop in the objects that I would like to be published inside of this book. Alright, so let's say that I want my X5000 introduction topic inside of this book. I can select it and click and drag it in. And now I've just added that topic to this book. I can do that from any folder. I can go up to the X1000 folder. Let's say I want to reuse this object. I'll drag that in. Let's go to knowledge base. Perhaps I want to reuse a couple of these objects. I can select them and drag them in. And back to someone's question from earlier, I could even select a book and drag that book in as well so that the contents of that book are now inside of my master level book. You can also add content from the search pane. Let's do a search on time travel. Let's get rid of that object code. Hit find now. Let's say I want these objects in my book. I'll just select them and drag them in. Let's go ahead and click apply here. Alright, so I've got some content in my book, alright, and they're all at a level 1 position inside of my book. But I can change their sequence and hierarchy if I'd like to. Let's say I want this topic to be 1 level underneath the topic above it. I can select it and then hit the demote button. I can multi-select these objects and hit demote as well. And now let's say that I want this topic and that topic, now it is that one, to be placed at a level 3. Let's do a level 4 for that one, and so on. So I can place these at a different level and sequence inside of my book. Now I can also just grab the icon and drag it as well. So if you don't want to use your up and down arrows and left and right arrows, you can actually click and drag if you wanted to. Multiple ways to do the same thing. Alright. So what I'm essentially doing is saying, I want these objects to publish in my X5000 user guide. I want them to publish in this order, and I want them to publish at these levels. Now, why is level important to you? Alright, level is important because it determines what heading style gets applied to that content when it's published, and it also affects how the table of contents will be published. Alright, let's take a look at a book that's got some more content inside of it here. I'm going to go back up to my folder. I'm going to go to my X1000 book. Alright. Now, the view that I was looking at in my X5000 user guide was the properties view, which you can get to when you first create the object or by right-clicking and selecting properties. This is the view that allows you to access the output tabs, the general tab, and so on. Books actually have 2 views. If you just double-click on a book, it opens up in the book editor view where you get this word processor-like toolbar at the top of the screen, and you can do more word processing functions to your content. Alright. Now inside of this view, let's make this a little bigger here, I can also publish Alright, so we have a publishing ribbon in the main interface, and I also have a publishing ribbon inside of my book editor view. It's basically my one-stop shop area for adding in content and publishing content. Alright, now from here, let me go ahead and publish this book to Word. Alright, now what it's going to do, it's going to take a look at these book contents, publish one object after the other, alright, in the sequence and hierarchy that we see here. It is giving me the progress of my content, alright, and it is telling me what the status is of all of the objects that it's publishing as well. Now when it's done, it's going to give me an option to view the output. And shame on me, I had some objects set up in my publishing queue. Alright, so here we have it, our X1000 user guide here. Let's go ahead and view that. Okay. Now where that hierarchy comes into play, first of all, is in my table of contents. So the sequence of my topic objects and the hierarchy of those topic objects is mimicked automatically in my table of contents section. This table of contents section gets created automatically every single time I publish just by having a table of contents object inside of my book. Alright. Now also where it comes into play is the heading style. So here notice we have a topic called Acme X1000 at a level 1. At a level 2 we have the X1000 description topic. So if we go over to those objects, I'm just going to click the page number. I'm going to turn on my style inspector here so it's easier for you to see. Here's that heading for my Acme X1000 topic. Notice how it has a heading 1 style applied to it. Now when I click on X1000 description, notice how it has a heading 2 style applied to it. And there were some other topics that followed that at the same level. They also will have a heading 2 style applied to them. That heading style is applied automatically based on the hierarchy that the topic appears in inside of my book. So if I were to change X1000 specifications to level 3 now, I'll go ahead and highlight it and demote it 1 level. That means that this topic will now publish with a heading 3 style associated with it. Now the reason why this is important to you is for reuse. Let's say that X1000 specifications is used in 2 books in your library. In one book it's at a level 3, and in another book it's at a level 4. Well, if we manually assigned heading styles to our topics, then one of the levels would be incorrect, or maybe both of the levels would be incorrect. But if we let AuthorIt automatically assign the heading style for us, then that topic will always have the correct heading style associated with it because of the level that it appears in the book. So it makes this topic more reusable to have AuthorIt assign the heading style for us. Alright, because again, this topic may appear at different levels in different books. In one book it's level 2, in one book it's level 5, for example. Alright, let's go back to our presentation here. So that is what we mean by our sequence and hierarchy, is that you have control over the order and the level that your content publishes in.